Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video we will see Azure Solution Architecture tutorial for networking design. This video will help you provide information about some of the solutions and how in the coming videos you will be confident in designing and implementing Azure networking capabilities, because it is a crucial part of the cloud solution. Because if you will need to make networking design decisions to properly support your workloads and services, you should be aware of all the networking tools and capabilities that Azure provides. So let's start it. So I've got my whiteboard here. Now, Azure provides a wide range of networking tools and capabilities, but to begin with, if you start from here, we should be aware about Azure Virtual Networks, okay, which is also called Azure VNets. Okay, and after that you should also be aware of the Azure Virtual WAN. Okay, after that you should also be aware about private link. Well, it has a lot more tools and component, but I'm telling you the things that will be part of your solutions quite often, right? You should also be aware of Azure Firewalls. You should also be aware of app gateways. So as much as you try and do labs of deploying these services in your lab environment, you should be more confident. And the most important and quite frequent is Azure Express Route. Okay, and then you have load balancer. And also it is important to understand Azure VPN Gateway. Now, you have to consider a few of the technologies and solution as you plan and implement your deployment. Okay, because when you are aware of all these components that I just mentioned, you should also practice the firewall architecture, like how the firewall is deployed, how the different component of this services interact and work with on-prem and the other services that are available on Azure, right? Same way, you should also do labs and understand the private link, right? And the hub and spoke network. After that, you should also know about how to select between virtual VNet pairing. Okay, it's called virtual network pairing, and how you decide on VPN gateways. And after that, you would also know the Azure Express Route, right? So you should understand the different components that are involved when you are suggesting any of the solutions or architectures out of these options. Okay, and then there are some best practices which are part of Azure well architected framework, which is a set of guiding tenets and based on 5 pillars that you can use to improve the quality of your architecture. Okay, and then we have cloud adoption framework, which is a collection of documentation, implementation, guidance, best practices, and tools that are designed to accelerate your cloud adoption. And then you have the networking architectures regarding high availability, hybrid networking, hub and spoke topology, the virtual WAN, multi-region networking. Okay, now to start with, if you talk about the network topology architectures, I would make you understand the hub spoke network topology in Azure. Okay, So this will help you implement a hub spoke network pattern with customer managed hub infrastructure components, right? For a Microsoft managed hub infrastructure, I will explain you hub spoke network topology with Azure Virtual WAN, right? So hub and spoke is one of the most common network topologies recommended by the Cloud Adoption Framework. Hub and spoke. All right. So if I talk about the diagram that you will create to understand and to present it to your client, right? Or while designing a network architecture, let's say in here you have the on-prem network. Okay. And you have the virtual machines here in your on-prem. And then this component, I started from here, right? And from here, I draw a line. Sorry, I'm not able to keep it straight line, but I'm just trying to create a box here, or I'll just, okay. In here, if you will start, I will first deploy a hub VNet. Okay. Let's say this is my hub VNet. And this is the part of the hub VNet. And this is how you create the diagram in your rough notebook or on the paint yourself before going directly to creating a diagram, a draw on Visio. It will give you more clear picture of what components you want, what components you don't want. You can just easily remove them, right? And while you practice it hands-on, you will be very fast in creating those on Visio, right? This is Hub VNet, and I deploy my Azure Bastion. I'm just deploying it on the basis of the best practices. Some of the components you might need, some of the components you might not need. Okay, this is my Azure Bastion, and I deploy a firewall here, Azure Firewall. Okay, and then I deploy a VPN gateway or an express route here. Okay, now I join this. This is my cross premises network. I connect this either through VPN gateway or an express route to my on-prem. Okay. Azure Firewall I will use to inbound the traffic from internet. Bastion also I'll use the inbound traffic from outside. All right. Now, let's say I have one more network. This is my hub virtual network, and I don't want to deploy my prod resources here. What I'll do, I'll deploy the prod spoke network here. Okay. What I'll do, I'll just this is my prod spoke network. Because hub is only one. This is hub. And now every network that I will deploy, it will be spoke, not a hub network. Okay. And I do a VNet pairing here between these two networks. And I deploy virtual machines in this prod spoke network. Okay. Now, you can deploy multiple prod spoke networks. You can deploy one more. Let's say you have one more prod spoke virtual network here. All right. This is prod spoke virtual network 2 or whatever your naming convention is. And then you have subnets inside it, and then you deploy VMs again. All right. And then you can have a non-prod spoke network here as well. Same, you will have subnets, you will have VMs over here. Okay, you can have one more non-prod virtual network here as well. I mean, it depends upon your requirement, right? And then you pair it. Okay. Non-prod, VMs and VMs. Okay. Now every network should be connected to my hub network. Okay. So what I'll do, this hub network will be connected to non-prod. Okay. This hub network will be connected to this non-prod. Okay. And then I will have a force tunnel from this prod network to my firewall. Okay, so that every traffic going outside of my Azure Virtual Network Manager or from my Azure tenant should go through firewall. Okay, same way I connect this as well to firewall, a force tunnel through the UDRs or user defined routes. Okay, and then these two are connected networks, and then you can have Azure Monitor to connect the diagnostic logging. Somewhere here. Okay. Now this is hub and spoke. So this is my hub network. This is my prod spoke 2. This is my non-prod. This is my non-prod. And then you have firewall. Any inbound traffic will be connected through firewall first, and then I have a force tunnel from my prod networks to go through a firewall, and then I have VNet pairing between my hub network and a non-prod network, and hub network within the non-prod network. Okay. Now there are some concepts you should be aware about. Hub virtual network hosts shared Azure services, right? So workload hosted in spoke virtual network can use these services. Like I've deployed firewall in my hub network, express route in my hub network, bastion in my hub network, but other spoke services will use these services. Okay, and hub contains your primary point of egress and provide a mechanism to connect one spoke to another in situations where cross virtual network traffic is needed. Like I have this firewall, right? And this is the egress point because I've connected a force tunnel here from my prod networks to the firewall through user defined routes. Okay. Then you have cross premise gateway because you need to connect you need to have cross premise connectivity through which it will provide an ability to connect and integrate different network environments to one another. Okay, which will be done through VPN gateway or express route. Okay. And then you have egress control, you have optional ingress control as well. You will have remote spoke access for virtual machines, right? So the hub network here, hub can be convenient location to build out a cross organization remote connectivity solution for RDP and SSH access to virtual machines distributed throughout spoke networks. So any machine that you want to connect in prod spoke network, you should use Azure Bastion deployed in Hub VNet and properly connect through VNet pairing both of these networks so that you can have connectivity. Okay, and routing, your user defined routes or UDRs, they will manage and direct traffic between the hub and the connected spoke to enable secure and efficient connection. Okay, then we have spoke virtual networks. Spoke virtual networks isolate and manage workload separately in each spoke, right? So each workload can include multiple tiers with multiple subnets connected through Azure load balancers. And spoke cannot only are restricted to one subscription, they can also be present in different subscriptions as well. such as production or non-prod subscription, so that they can represent different environments: prod, non-prod, regression, UAT, development. And you should be aware about the DNS concepts here as well, because your DNS hub spoke solutions are often responsible for providing a DNS solution to be used by all peered spokes, especially for cross-premise routing and for private endpoint DNS records. Okay, so the components that I mentioned in the beginning of this video that you should be aware of about Azure Virtual Network, Azure Bastion, Azure Firewall, or VPN Gateway, Azure Express Route Gateway, Azure Monitor, right? This will help you understand and create the hub spoke network topology. Now, if I give you the scenario details, like on the basis of which I created this diagram, so hub virtual network, this hub virtual network will be considered as a central point. Let me erase it. This will be considered as a central point. Central point of connectivity to many spokes virtual network. So the spoke virtual networks connect with the hub and can be used to isolate workloads. Okay. And we can also enable cross-premises scenarios by using the hub to connect to on-premise networks as well, like I showed you here. Okay, this part. So this architecture describes a network pattern with the on-premises infrastructure components. Okay. Well, if you talk about benefits of hub and spoke, it provides cost saving. It helps you overcoming subscription limits. It provides workload isolation. It provides you more flexibility, more control over how your network virtual appliances are deployed, right? Such as number of NICs, number of instances, or the compute size of the virtual machines, right? So when you talk about the virtual WAN, so use of NVAs, there are some NVAs that are not supported by virtual WAN. We'll discuss more about it when we cover the virtual WAN topics. So what are the typical use cases of hub and spoke architectures, right? If you have several environments that require shared services, you can use hub and spoke network environment. If you don't require connectivity to each other but require access to shared services, you can opt for hub and spoke network environment. You require central control over security, you can use the hub and spoke environment. You require central control over connectivity, such as selective connectivity or isolation between spokes, right? So if you want, you cannot go and connect these two spoke networks, or non-prod or prod, right? So that is why you can use hub and spoke to create the spoke networks within one subscription or different subscriptions for your prod, non-prod, dev, UAT, regression, or whatever environments you want to have. Okay, so I hope this was informative for all of you. If you need any further assistance, please mention in the comment section. I'll try to cover all those topics as well. And please do not forget to subscribe on the channel, and I see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.